alternating. It's a good time in the process to turn the water back on and make sure none of these manifold fittings are leaking. Sometimes if they're pressed or tilted and not perfectly aligned with each other, they will leak. Hopefully you'll see this. It's kind of dark, I know. And just extend stuff with unions if you have to, Paul. Got my other service guy working on another one of these. Chances are, if you have these Flow Pros in your yard, these old Toro valves, they're gonna leak. Alright, now you got all your main line and your zone lines clamped. Tighten it up. If it's leaking, you can grab your channel locks one more time and just give it a little tighten. If it's too tight and it doesn't seem like, don't force it. You may have to back off fittings, use a shovel to pry it, and might help to have a second pair of hands kind of deal. Now, we cut out this old saddle earlier that was attached to that funny pipe. I'm going to use a blazing saddle to replace it. There's a lot of other quick tapping saddles like this. There are still these white saddles. You have to tighten down these nuts, and one side actually flips open. It goes around the pipe. You tighten it. I'll probably have another video of that at some time. Basically, these saddles, you're going to want to just slip over the top. You want to make sure there's a gap at the back and it's not just right into the dirt, but then you press down and it will click and it just locks in. And then we'll, because of this pipe, we'll just line it up like that. We'll take the tap part of the saddle and we'll just start twisting it in. This saddle actually punches its own hole. And then we'll kind of just, where we need to cut the funny pipe, this is why I left it as long as possible. You might need to use a little funny pipe or swing pipe connector, and this just pushes in both ends and wiggles on, and you don't need to clamp these for the swing pipe. Same kind of deal, you want to hold the saddle and make sure you don't torque it too much to make the hole too big, but just wiggle that all the way on. Now, for the reason that I want these to be the same, now the white, these valves to wire the same, so the homeowner doesn't have to learn a new order. I'm going to clip wires on one valve at a time. One will be connected to the common wire on all the valves. The other one will be connected to a different color, and that's the zone wire. So I'm just going to take the zone wires as I go, strip it. And these Hunters already self-stripped. I do recommend the Hunter valves over other brands. Irrigation are alright, but Hunters are the champions of the valve world, at least in my opinion. They're easy to maintain. They've been around forever, these PGV valve. And then I'm using, these are Drycon brand waterproof wire connectors. It's very important that you use waterproof ones. These are actually filled in the wire nut themselves. Inside has a gel filling, and The old way you can use these are grease boot, and there's just grease in here, and they go over an old wire nut, a wire nut that's non-waterproof, but they're messy and second best to these filled wire nuts. But anyways, we continue. I'll just cut both wires on the second one. One is the common, the other is a valve wire. So we'll take the zone wire, strip it, hook it to this valve in the sequence, just mirroring the old wiring. Now if you have to move it quite a distance, you'll have to rewire, and sometimes you can just cut the colored wires off and leave them connected to the valves and rewire them on those colors, the same pattern in the field. That will also work. This is gonna be the red wire, but since I don't want that non-wireproof connector, just gonna yank that off. Red, white, and what color is this? Is white. And this also lets you know that somebody has replaced these valves at some point. I mean, it would be pretty obvious, but this makes it super obvious that if you just do one in a set, and I'm sure these valves kind of work, but flowposts were the standard in the 70s, early 80s, I believe, and they're just very dated by now, and by today's means. So we'll get the old valves out of the way now, just throw them aside, and we will, there's a bunch of extra wires and they're all connected to the white. So we will just, instead of trying to unscrew that wire nut, which is probably near impossible, we will cut, throw that aside with the trash, and strip the white wire. Grab all the extra wires. And pair them up, kind of. Then attach them to the white common wire. And now, if you haven't had the water on yet, turn the water on, check it, but then after that we will put this box back on over the valves so they can be serviced, and you could take out, or so you can service the valves and you can take out the valves and replace them. You may have to cut notches in the sides to fit over things, but I'm going to put it like that, and that should be fair fitting. But right now I'm going to show you where I cut this old edging out, and now you can just place it back in, kind of deal. But I'm going to show you a trick, especially with this black pipe. You can get yourself a couple pieces of black pipe. Old or new doesn't really matter. See those roots grow through these white saddles, which is a different problem altogether. But you're going to take this and you're going to have to be super careful when doing this. But you want to find a hard surface, get by the edge, start press, and then move your hands away because you don't want to cut your finger off when you do this. But just cut a slit in here and roll it, and you will be able to. Now sometimes if the edging is this 3/4 diameter and uses 1-inch pipe, you have to cut a second section out. But you're going to cut it, roll it, and twist it in the edging. And do the same thing on the other side. And you can either use this little chunky cutout or make another one and place it in this side and bend it in, and that'll repair and hold your edging. You put the box on, you're ready to test it and replace it. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message. I'll message you back, and you're all right to bury it and seed it and throw the sod back. And thanks for watching.